Hello and welcome to our Under the Radar review episode of Exit Only Theater.
Woo!
I'm here with Adrian Alderete,
Woo!
and I'm JP Leigh, of course. We're here with a special guest. Our
Sorry.
I don't know if you were doing if you're doing Michael Jackson. I'm not quite sure what that was, but
It's like the sound you make when you go to Walmart and you don't have to pay for one of your eggs that you bought. So woo!
You paid for 11 eggs. Not quite sure how that happened, but introducing my husband, film geek connoisseur Jonathan Fisher.
There's actually a price gouge in eggs right now.
He's like, I just spent like $5 for eggs today.
So that'd be a good thing.
I buy per the egg. So one yolk.
That's a hell of a budget.
One yolk per folk. Oh, okay.
Did you just come up with it?
I've had really bad jokes this week. It's really bad.
That was not terrible, though.
That was, yeah.
Rocky's breakfast would have been so expensive nowadays.
What's Rocky's breakfast?
Yeah, what are you talking about?
Like 8 eggs in a glass.
8 eggs? Oh,
Rocky's
breakfast.
I thought there was like a meal, like an Eggs Benedict or a Rocky's breakfast.
You never heard of the Rocky's breakfast?
Son of a bitch.
Damn it, this ain't you hit the eggs, Rocky.
He's already got us on film references.
What are we doing today?
This is a great start. Okay, so like I said earlier, we're doing an under-the-radar review. So we picked a film that isn't Fantastic Four. It's another film that may or may not have gotten the love and attention that a lot of people expected it to.
A film that's actually fantastic.
It is actually fantastic. Woo! It is not abusing the word. That was a perfect application of that. We chose the Joel Edgerton written, directed, and produced. No, not produced. Starred in film.
No, he produced it.
Did he produce it? There we go. I wasn't wrong.
Gift.
The gift. My voice is not nearly deep enough to do it, so the other two should.
I'm the only one that does Batman around here, alright? No, we can do Batman. We can review this review Batman style.
Please don't, because then
What
I'm
a
stuck
pleasant
here.
film. What's in the box? Oh god, the performances blew me away.
See what you've started.
Okay,
He's created a monster.
We take this very seriously.
All he's gonna do is be like, he's gonna say Alan Rickman. You're gonna launch into that too.
Please, God.
Oh, I'll save that for the news show.
There we go. So yeah, we wanted to in the context of The Gift, it's a thriller film. It's a film that requires you to not really know what's going on when you go into it. So we don't want to do any spoilers. So in the spirit, spoiler free. Feel comfortable listening to this.
Yeah, this is a film that is under the radar, hence the title.
Yes. And
it's since it's a Blumhouse production, those are the ones that kind of produce those low budget, like found footage movies and whatnot that are actually a lot of fun. And they put their faith into a non-traditional horror movie, so to speak.
Yeah.
And so we want to prove to you guys that we don't just watch superhero movies, and everybody's looking at me when I say that.
Oh, absolutely.
So this was our chance to prove that we embrace cinema in all its forms.
We're a well-rounded bunch, and I said that without fumbling, so I'm proud of myself. So I'll start with a quick synopsis of the film, and again, we'll preface a few times. We're not going to spoil anything big. But the quick synopsis is, when married couple Simon, who's Jason Bateman, and Robin, played by Rebecca Hall, unexpectedly encounter Gordo, who played by Joel Edgerton, amazing, an acquaintance from Simon's past, little do they know that their perfect lives will be thrown into a terrifying tailspin. At first, Simon doesn't recognize Gordo, but after a troubling series of uninvited encounters and mysterious gifts, a horrifying secret emerges. As Robin learns what really happened between Simon and Gordo, she begins to question how she knows her spouse. So it's kind of I don't know. Okay, so I want to start this conversation with, we always do like a did you like it, did you not like it. I think it's worth doing, especially because now we have an extra opinion in the room, was because we didn't know too much about this movie going into it. What do you think, how does this rank in just the overall, just the films you've seen this summer? It's not really a summer film, so it may not be fair, but did you like it? Tell me what you thought.
To keep the Batman theme going, it's not the film we needed, but it's the film we deserved. And
How so?
Exactly, because like for a summer movie, this is the thing, like you assume it's like, oh, action, we want explosions. This is a different kind of action.
True.
This is the kind of action that you see through the story, through the drama, through the performances.
But it wasn't sold that way. It was sold as sort of a traditional, kind of the strangers, you don't know what's going to happen movie, which I feel like you kind of had to bring people in that way, and they weren't disappointed by a completely different film.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say I was surprised, but I was impressed. Yeah. It was for a first time director, and we're gonna talk more. We're gonna break down his Joel Edgerton's directing style later. But I wanted just to, like, overall, like, the guy did an awesome job for what I assume is his first directorial feature. In terms of, I think with him starring in and all the difficulty of doing all those, wearing all those hats, he did a great job. Yeah, he did a terrific job. I thought it was awesome. Like, but to answer your question, it's the kind of summer movie you need to kind of, because like when you think about it, we've seen Jurassic World, you've seen Mission Impossible, Ant-Man, all that stuff. You need a palate cleanser. You need something else to kind of be able to. You need variety, and this was exactly what we needed. And not only that, but it wasn't the kind, like I said before, it's not the kind of action movie that you would expect from something like, you don't expect this kind of like dramatic action from Jurassic World. No. This is the exact opposite of that. Which is refreshing. It
was the perfect bridge between summer into like Oscar-winning movies.
That's what I was gonna say, especially because you're hitting on.
Look at you on the first show, just dropping the mic. It's like,
especially like tweet-worthy, like boom explosions of validity.
Thank you for your contributions. You may leave.
No, but I was telling Jen like 4 months ago, I saw the trailer for this and it looked kind of terrible. Yeah, it looked just like he shows up with a gift and oh my god, it's going to be like one of the horror movies. And then I walked out of there 2 nights ago and it was like one of the best movies I saw, if not the best movie.
It exceeds your expectations. Maybe that's what they were going for, is like people who are curious because they like those kinds of movies are going to see it and be overwhelmed by how much better that is, and people who like us are like hoping it's something more end up being that was proven right, so it's good.
Because like when like you said it like exactly right, like you expect something to be about a physical gift, and it's just like, oh wow, this is like a reverse Santa Claus story. It's like, prepare for the lump of coal I'm about to give you.
Right. Which at first you see the gifts. He does such a good job with the gifts, and we're not, like I said, we're not spoiling anything. Just the tension that Edgerton builds with this film, and the inciting incident of the movie happens in the first, like, 30 seconds. Like, most movies take 20 minutes to make you care about the characters and really kind of invest, and he does a good job of saying, you don't know who you think is the important character in this movie. I wouldn't say there's a particular protagonist or antagonist. No. It gets turned on its head so many times that you're in for the ride.
And that's another nod to Edgerton. Like,
absolutely.
Because the fact of the matter is, like, he also wrote the movie, which means he understands. Obviously, in my opinion, he's a world-class actor. He doesn't get the work he deserves, but he's someone that understands character building. Yeah. And he did that with these characters, where it's like, in the real world, like, the story itself, the reason I think it's so effective, and I think it's a story that people respond to, and it's going to be really successful, continuously going to be successful at the box office, because people relate to it because it's grounded in the real world. It's real life situations where, the interaction between all the characters is stuff that you've heard of before. Yeah.
And if you haven't directly done these things, you've heard of someone who is socially awkward, or you had a friend in high school who did that, or you've encountered these experiences. They've just been heightened to a new level. And the fact that you said, like, the way you said it is like, there's no quote unquote good guy, bad guy. This is not your traditional, I don't want to like sound like racist against America, but it's not your traditional American movie where it's like, here's the obvious good guy, here's the obvious bad guy. Now pick a side to root for. Like, no, this is like it's a life movie. It's a life experience movie where it's like, it's more about what the circumstances than the actual, I guess, characters, if that makes sense. No, it's very true. No. It definitely it's a psychological thriller in many senses. It's what's happening to these characters psychologically, but you're also kind of forced to pick a side, which you don't. It's kind of off-putting and unsettling, and it's fun. It keeps you on the edge of your seat.
Speaking of characters.
Because this film, I mean, essentially has 3 people in this movie. There are a few auxiliary characters played very well by some of the secondary actors in this film, but I wanted to talk about, just kind of to set the table to the group, whose performance was the strongest. Who do you think was most important? Do you think it was an equal 3-way performance? Do you think anyone kind of rose above the rest? I just wanted to hear, like, do you want to start us off?
I mean, I think it was very, very equal. Very balanced. But of course, when you come out of it, you think that, like, Jason Bateman did an amazing, like, hands-down job.
I agree. I think Jason Bateman's performance took the best of what he's good at and heightened it to another level, that he isn't just the likable, if slightly off-kilter person. There's more to it than that, and it's unsettling.
Yeah, because everybody knows him from that kind of style of, like, that kind of quirky dude.
The Arrested Development guy.
Every kind of guy, the business dude and whatnot from Arrested Development. And it took that kind of premise and that kind of style, but directed it in a different way that you still bought, and it was actually really clever.
Yeah.
Because when you think about the casting of a character like that, Joel Edgerton hit it right on the head. And that was perfect casting. And hopefully this opens the door for Jason Bateman to do more stuff like that. Because he's done dramatic stuff before. And especially more recently. But I think this one, like I'm just really impressed by what Joel Edgerton was able to get out of him.
Yeah.
And not only that, but like Rebecca Hall too. Like she's always great in everything she does. But
to be understated and to be vulnerable without feeling particularly weak, I feel like she was a very complex character.
Plus, in the movie, you basically felt like you were her the entire movie.
Right.
She was, that's exactly right.
You were seeing things through her lens.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I feel like similar to her, sort of, and I was talking to Jonathan about this earlier, is she kind of reminds me of Shelley Duvall in The Shining, where there are these almost overbearing characters around her, and she's kind of making sense of them in a way that kind of makes her a stronger character, because empathy is not necessarily weakness, which I like about her
character. Is very similar to the character she plays in The Town.
Yeah, I could see that too.
Yeah.
Where she's
weak but strong at the same time.
She's a victim early on, and then you're kind of seeing her make sense of what's going on around her. Yeah, I could see that. That's
because her character carries a lot of weight. Like they hint at in the movie, and this is not spoiling anything. No. Like they just moved to a new home, and she's kind of debating if she wants to start working again because she had like these issues back in Chicago, and now that she's in Los Angeles, I believe, right? Yeah, they're now in Los Angeles, so she's very much like Shelley Winters was in The Shining.
Or Shelley Duvall.
Shelley Duvall, sorry about that.
No worries.
Shelley Duvall in The Shining, where it's like she's kind of like now she's working at staying at home, but like she doesn't really know what to do with it. Exactly.
Right,
and she plays that very well without being cliche.
Yeah, it's very the fact that it's so understated and there's so much complexity behind her eyes, and you almost want to know what happened, but they don't reveal everything, which is fantastic.
And Joel Edgerton is, Joel Edgerton. Yeah. He's awesome.
You want us to share that tidbit you
the thing is, like...
Because we can get to his directing in a second, but the acting is...
like, for me, the hardest thing you can do, and the thing that, like, as an aspiring director, the one thing that scares the hell out of me is directing yourself in your own movie. Yeah. Or in your own feature.
To even go about doing that
it's extremely difficult because, like, it's easy to see being in the background and saying, alright, I didn't like the way that one person... move, let's see how we can block this. When you're trusting someone else with your vision, it's really hard. Yeah. Because you have to be on set, you're looking into the camera rather than looking behind it. And for him, like, the interesting story about all this was, and I think this is a good sign of a good director because...
He's self-aware of this early on in his career.
What he chose to do when he started this project, he shot all his scenes that he was acting in the first 2 weeks, so that the rest of the production he could focus on just simply directing. And
knowing how much he's not a minor character in this film,
no, not at all.
We've already explained, it's a pretty equal triangle.
Yeah,
that's pretty ballsy to be able to do that.
Yeah, it's really difficult because it gives you a fond respect for guys like Ben Affleck and stuff like who star in their own movies and direct really terrific films.
It's a difficult process.
Yeah, and it's a sign of a good director because a lot of people will judge a director like, oh, what a great shot that was, or how he was able to move the camera like this and that. Like, in my opinion, one of the underrated signs of a good director is how well you organize the film. How organized you're shooting. Behind and in front of the camera, absolutely. Because that's the one thing you don't ever hear about. It's like, you could have like a cool camera angle. Like, everybody, he's not an actor, but like, you could be Zack Snyder where you could put together a really great shot. But if you can't tell a story, if you can't get good performances out of your actors, then it doesn't make a difference.
There's so many things you have to be in control of that organization is the first step.
So that tells me that he was really well prepared. He understood his story. He understood what it took for him to get the best kind of juice out of his story, and he was able to do that by organizing this really, really well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think I want to jump into that a little bit more with regard to. I was talking to Jonathan about this a little bit earlier. Is that some of the cinematography is very understated, and I know that it's more the DP than the director, but there's a lot that the director has to say in a lot of those decisions. But I wanted to talk about the first and last shot of the movie, and this doesn't give anything away to the plot. Yeah. But I think it definitely is like a perfect bookend for the film. And that's how I kind of look at movies sometimes, is I like to watch, especially when there's a director that I feel like might know he kind of knows what he's doing, and it's not just a comic book movie or something like that. There's more intent in these movies, is that I like to look at the first shot and the last shot and see if they make sense with each other. Yeah. This movie does that, and it's awesome. So the very first shot of the film is you see this sort of slow tracking shot pushing in on an outside hallway of the house that this couple is about to buy in Los Angeles. Yeah. That shot, without giving anything away, slowly cuts to inside the house, with a very similar tracking shot in a hallway within the house. So you're almost feeling like you're invading their bubble. You're kind of becoming the audience in sort of an invasive way. And it's kind of it's an unsettling feeling because you're like, oh, this is a nice house. Whose is this?
And it's something right away.
Absolutely. Exactly. And then the last shot of the movie is Joel Edgerton's character. This door closes. There's a grate on the door. And this is not spoiling anything. Not at all, because it doesn't. This tells you nothing. It's a character drama. But when you when the door closes, you see there's sort of a grate on the door, and there's an extreme. When he's walking away, there's an extreme out of focus lens that just stays with the door as he kind of just disappears, almost in like an AI. When you see like the characters really out of focus, almost looks alien. You just see him kind of disappear into the background. Those two shots are very similar, but you just see how you're being invited into the scenario. And then at the end of it, you're like, do I trust what he's done throughout this film? Am I staying behind this barrier? Like the dynamic between the first and last shots, they're like visually very almost the exact same shots. Yeah. But they're telling two very different things, which I thought was really cool. Yeah. And it's understated. You're not getting these sweeping, crazy lenses or anything like that. You're getting exactly what the story needs of you. Yeah. And you're starting with a bang and you're ending with a bang, and I loved it. So. Yeah, and especially like the one thing, like kind of going off what your explanation was, a lot of first-time directors and stuff who don't understand how to develop their own style will kind of say, oh man, I want to Spielberg the hell out of this shot, where you want to be able to move and then meet it again at a certain point or something like that, without necessarily having a reason for it. The entire movie here understood its tone and understood how to tell that story with the tone it had. You're in a fishbowl that entire time in that house, and it's just uncomfortable. It's very slow. Like anybody that's seen The Shining knows that movie for me, like that's the way you build suspense. And most of that movie is the setting, so exactly, and that very similar because this movie mostly takes place in the house. And the way they use that to its advantage, because you pretty much know, like, navigate through the house the entire time. You're like, oh, it's a nice house, small, bunch of windows everywhere. Yeah. But then the fact that you're in there all the time, you start relating to Rebecca Hall's character. Yep. You're just like, all of a sudden you're like, you know where everything is, but you don't know if everything that you trust is there is actually there. Yeah, and it becomes... I just love the way they do that, because it plays off of the thriller genre without kind of appeasing the audience. Yeah. Like, there are a few scares in the movie that are fantastic as well, but because they're not cheap, because you know something better is coming. There was only really one jump scare. Oh, there's two. There's two. There's two. Oh, yeah.
But when you simulated it to The Shining, like, it does make sense, because we say it's a slow burn, but, like, I'd love to see this movie, like, tracked out almost on one of those, like, sound wave things, like, if the movie was a sound wave. Yeah. Because we were talking, like, every 15 minutes, it has a perfect, like, little inciting incident, and it builds and builds and goes slow and then builds, and it's like... It's a good point. Just like The Shining would, where, you come around, you see the two twins, like, and then it goes back to being normal, and then the kid finds the lady in the bathtub, and it excites you again. It's just these little things building to, like, the climax. It's true. You trust that you're going somewhere intentionally, and when you get there, you're like, oh, that was great. Yeah. That was good. And it makes me excited for Joel Edgerton's future. Man. Absolutely. Like, especially more particularly as a director and a writer, because this was very well written. That was very well written. It was very well paced. I think he's going to get a lot more work with this now. So, like, whether he makes a new film, whether he makes the sequel to The Gift, where, like, The Gift 2, Hanukkah season, like... Just 8 crazy gifts in a row. The Gift, I'm returning it. It's like, The Gift, Age of Ultron, or something like that. Jokingly, it was really exciting to see something kind of... Not necessarily, it wasn't like, this is the thing, like, it's not something we have not seen before. But it was just really good at what it was trying to do. Very refreshingly done, yeah. So I'm excited for him. I say... like I always say in every review that we do, I'm not going to say, oh, it was like a 4.5 out of 5. No, it's like, it was good. Right. Go see it. Absolutely. Go see it. I mean, I think it'll definitely have lasting value, just not from the weekend, because I know we're not talking about Fantastic Four. No. But I've heard that, like, the nerds spoke, and from when we were in the theater, the first theater we went to go see this movie at was sold out. Right. So clearly, like, people wanted to see this movie. And it was word of mouth, and that's the most important thing for a film, is people telling other people that it was good. Yeah, so I hope people go out and see this movie, because the more money this makes, the more opportunities Joel Edgerton will make. The thing is, like, when we... And I heard this in a podcast a few days ago. Someone asked this guy a question where he's like, "Why do you guys pull for some movies to make more money? Why does that matter?" Well, it matters because, like, studios or production companies will make stories based off how people spend their money. Absolutely. And so if you spend money to support somebody like Joel Edgerton in a movie like this, studios are going to say, movies will be made. Yeah, they'll be like, look, we want to see more Joel Edgerton films. We want to see more movies like this. We want to see more movies that are about this. Absolutely. Let's see more of that. So
hopefully this, and I think this movie, like you said, has legs. It's more and more people I think are going to see this movie. Where it finished at number 3 this week in the box office. It could very well move up. It's definitely going to move up to number 2, depending on, I forget what's coming out this week, but at the same time...
Straight Outta Compton and something else.
Straight Outta Compton, Man from U.N.C.L.E. But I think this one's going to hang around top 5 for the next, few weeks. And it's already made... Seeing this movie, it's probably already made its money back.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to seeing more from this.
The last thing I'll say about it is I love that it's just simple, original, but at the same time it's not original. It reminded me, thinking back on it, it's almost like an Aesop's Fable story or something that you would tell your kids, not in such a effed up way.
No, but it definitely is be careful how you treat people, because that could come back to haunt you, and that's really, really important. It's an important story to tell. Whether or not you agree with how that's handled is what makes the story entertaining.
Their take on it is very interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. We wanted to transition from the film itself to maybe a couple of quick little either or segment, maybe more sort of rapid fire conversation off of the film itself.
Hypothetical hot shit.
That's right.
That's just my term for
it. That is how we set it up in the last, context of
the episode.
It's
a fun segment. I love this segment.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I don't know if Jonathan, do you want to toss the 2 topics out, or do you want to participate? It's up to you.
I'll toss the 2 out.
Okay.
I'll judge if there's a huge debate between
Perfect.
the 2.
I'm all about tossing.
I'm not.
So the first one I think we're doing is on the Joel Edgerton thing.
Yes.
Favorite actor or actress turned director, and I think that you guys want to go with the theme that they've actually acted in their movies they've directed.
That's a good. That's a good stipulation, because there are a lot of talented actor directors, but it narrows it down.
Oh, okay. All right. I just want to preface this. I think I'm right. And
so there's a context in the film that's very important that I think Adrian missed, is that there's this whole idea that winners and losers are a clear delineation of society's success.
If you're not first, you're last. All right.
So, when you see the film, you realize that he did not get the theme of the movie.
Yeah. Look,
he learned nothing.
I just want to say, Jonathan, I'd like to think we're best friends.
He's married to one of us, and it's not Adrian.
You guys, stop monkeying around.
I gave you a ring.
Oh.
No, all right. No, okay.
That was a good... Okay, never mind.
Okay.
You didn't hear it, and I didn't react to it.
That's okay. All right, no, but my answer is, from recently, I want to pick something recently. It was an ambitious film for someone that wouldn't really take on that kind of material.
Okay.
I'm picking Ben Stiller and The Secret World of Walter Mitty.
Okay.
Secret Life of Walter Mitty, sorry.
Okay.
Right. I'm biased because I subtly worked on that movie. Subtly worked on that movie.
Hinted.
But the reason I like is because Ben Stiller took on a project that there were a lot of cool names attached to that.
Mm-hmm.
Steven Spielberg, Christopher Nolan, all these guys were we're interested in that movie. Ben Stiller came in and was you know what? I'm going to take on that movie. I've never done anything that dramatic before.
And it's imperfect, but it's a fun movie. My parents love that movie.
There's a lot of flaws with it. It's not perfect. There was some silly scenes with it. But sometimes filmmaking, it has to be a very... In order to make the film that you want to get across, you have to make it personal.
Yeah.
And that film, you could tell, was very personal. And it's intimidating to make a movie like that. Absolutely. And not only that, but to star in it and be the person that's being effectively changed. His character, Walter Mitty, goes through a huge transformation in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
And Ben Stiller probably plays the most reserved role he's ever played.
Yeah.
Where he really toned down, not watered down, but toned down. Where he's really reserved, and I love it. It's a really personal film, and I think as an audience member, that's what you want. You want them to kind of express themselves in the most personal way. Mm-hmm. And I think he nailed it. Hats off to him. That was my favorite one.
That's good. No, I think that movie could have had a little more whimsy to it. Some of the trailer was so good, and I feel like they packed all the good bits of it into it, and I wanted so much more. Yeah. And he was refrained in a good way as the actor, but I wanted him to just go crazier as the director. But it's still a good film. It's still good. Yeah. I'm going to go with a slightly older pick. Mm-hmm. In terms of actor turned director. It might be more of an actor and director at the same time kind of a scenario, but you can't talk about this topic without mentioning Mel Brooks.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not going to pick Spaceballs. I'm not going to pick History of the World Part 1, Young Frankenstein. I mean, there's so many good films. Yeah. I'm going to pick High Anxiety. Okay. Because that is a spoof on a Hitchcock movie, which I think Edgerton's film is most similar to. So if you ever see High Anxiety, it's... You sly dog. You made it... This is pretty cool. Very good pick. It's very similar to... it's basically a spoof on Vertigo in the way that a lot of his other films are spoofs on others. Mm-hmm. Check it out. It's really good. Okay, so let me see if I can just pull up a quick... So just after becoming the director of this Psychoneurotic Institute for the Very, Very Nervous, Dr. Richard Thorndike is greeted by a series of mysterious events. So it's it's kind of goofy. It may or may not be a little insensitive to, maybe to some people who have mental illnesses. But the way that Mel Brooks handles politically incorrect humor in that time period, I don't think he could get away with some of the things he did back then.
Yeah.
Now, and most of his films stand the test of time. This one's not actually noticed as much. But for me, who loves Hitchcock movies, and someone who as a kid didn't get vertigo, I got high anxiety. And there's a line he says in the movie, I'll just leave it at that, is he says something to the effect of, "I'm not afraid of heights, I'm afraid of falling." And I just love that line. Go see that movie. It's probably on Netflix. If not, it's at your local library because a lot of older people tend to rent it. So.
Considering my wife's never shown me this movie or mentioned it in the last 7 years,
yeah, sorry,
I can't really judge that.
Yeah.
And according to Adrian's, if you would have picked Tropic Thunder,
ooh,
I would have definitely picked you as the winner.
Yeah, but like the thing is, like this is the thing, like you're not wrong, but you're not
but you're
right.
wrong.
Well, I think Ben Stiller should have picked a different actor to act in Walter Mitty.
I agree.
It got a little boring. Like,
it did get a little boring,
through.
but I think for what he wanted to do, I think he nailed his character. But not only that, but I think he
nailed it. I don't think he carried it.
That's a good point. That's a good point. And I just really like the movie. Yeah. Overall, the reason I didn't pick Tropic Thunder. Because even though that movie was a lot more fun and it was a lot more subtle
jab. He's so annoying in it, though. I can't stand him in
that
movie.
His character is annoying, but at the same time, I think this was such a different detour from what he's done in the past.
Exactly. It's refreshing.
So
it's cool,
I think I won.
Cool.
I think we both did a similar thing where we picked someone that's well known for being actor-director, but also picking a film that people may or may not have seen.
Exactly.
All right, what's the second either or?
The second is revenge. Who do you want to exact revenge on in the last 5 years for a terrible role they had?
Oh my gosh.
Bad performance.
I'll let you go off first.
Oh, I'm gonna go ham, and I actually have to pull up his name because
Did you just say you're about to go ham?
I'm gonna go ham.
Oh my gosh. I'm gonna go get ham. Yeah, oh my gosh.
Well, see, I'm not even paying attention. I just typed in boys.
Like the piggy bank from Toy Story.
Oh, I love ham. I liked him though. That was not
seem like he died.
But you were like bad performance. I'm like, don't you dare speak bad of him.
Good lord.
Okay, so my bad performance, and I liked this movie, not as much as the film that won Best Picture last year, is the film Boyhood, and the actor Ellar Coltrane played Mason, who's the main kid in the movie.
Yeah.
And this is not a novel idea. There are a lot of people who loved the film but weren't a fan of his performance.
Yeah.
I just really wish they'd picked someone who could act very well when he was a kid, who could carry those traits somewhat admirably into his early 20s.
He was so terrible.
There was just, the first half of the film went really well because that kind of style of his acting was kind of, you can forgive it as a kid.
Yeah.
It didn't carry. It's like I know that they film sporadically every year, but didn't even seem like he tried to ramp up his style. Like he didn't try to okay, let me remember I can act and take a couple weeks before filming to kind of just get back into the character.
Yeah. He
was just very bland and boring. I'm sorry. It was a boring performance amidst other really talented performances. So I would say that Ellar Coltrane would be recast in my eyes.
Okay.
I don't know if I would necessarily do anything evil to him because he was a kid at the time and he's like our age now, and I don't want to try to smack him around a bit, but he definitely needed a little work, and I feel like I would have recasted it.
Okay, that's pretty good. This is as a comic book movie fan, I could have picked anybody really. Mm-hmm. I could have picked the entire cast of Fantastic Four. Yeah. I could have picked Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
I could have picked
Ryan Reynolds.
I could have picked anybody, but I'm not gonna go the comic book route.
Look at you, of all.
But there was one role. There was one movie, but more specifically, there was one role where I'm like, dude, you didn't need to be in that movie. You knew how bad it was gonna be. It was Ryan Gosling in Gangster Squad.
Oh, I didn't see. I haven't seen Gangster Squad.
The thing is, I didn't finish watching it. It was god awful. It was just so bad. It was so cheesy. But the thing was that Ryan Gosling, and there's a reason why he's taking an acting break right now, because he chose such a stupid movie to be a part of. And at that time, that's when Drive just came out. Only God Forgives came out. Even though Only God Forgives was kind of, it wasn't a hit the way Drive was. But for him, it was an ambitious choice, even though he's friends with Nicholas Winding Refn. Mm-hmm. It was an ambitious choice to kind of be like, I'm going to push myself to be in a role, that's kind of very... Even though Drive was very silent, it wasn't as physical as Only God Forgives. Then he chooses Gangster Squad, where he's supposed to be just like this muscle dude, this suave dude, and you could tell it's not that he wasn't comfortable playing that guy. It's just he wasn't comfortable being in that movie.
Yeah.
I think he knew how stupid it was once he started working on it.
I was going to say, I've heard everyone in that film felt...
I was so excited about that movie.
It looked really good. The trailer, you have Sean Penn, you have all these cool guys, and it's just it's just like for him, it's like you don't choose the hunky role. This is like Jake Gyllenhaal. There's a reason why he doesn't choose those roles anymore. Yeah, he's like you have to be very wise with your choices, and that's why like Ryan Gosling, he was being offered all these roles, and then like he chooses Gangster Squad, and it's like now you have to take a break from your career because of how dumb you are. It's like, look, dude.
Was it really that damaging?
No, it was just it wasn't damaging to him, but I think it was damaging because he had to kind of like wait. He's like, oh man, I don't want to do movies. He
was self-aware enough to take a step back.
So it's like, dude, you're successful enough to pick whatever role you want to do, and you chose that one. So it's like if I could go back and be like and pull a gift on him, like, yo, bro, don't do this. Like, don't leave the house for a while. Just relax. You don't have to be in a movie every few months. Yeah. I know you need to work, but you're not broke either.
No, he wasn't a lot. If I could he was making right choices, but you're right.
Yeah, that was tough. No, that was my pick, but yeah.
Okay.
Gosling.
Are you even going to declare a winner? I feel like it's not fair to do so.
No.
So you're gonna. Just keep it pretty.
Just keep it even.
Keep it as a tie.
Yeah.
God damn it.
I won. I think I win out of...
You don't win on ties.
Yeah.
It's soccer rules. We tied. We both get a point. Period. Done.
Okay. All right.
You're like, I'm not okay with that.
All right, fine. Walk it out.
You're like, I won't.
Oh, gosh. But no, that was fun. That was a lot of fun. That was really cool.
Go check out The Gift. It's a solid
movie. Check out
movie.
The Gift.
It's great to see someone with talent as a director, a writer, and an actor. You want to go check that out? We have someone knocking on the door. It's like Clarissa Explains It All over.
It's like a porno.
We can bring in. Hold off just a second because we're finishing an episode. Sure.
Woo! Oh my god.
On that note, that's just a quick taste of the next episode that's coming.
Someone walked in. There's a special guest coming through.
You won't know about them until later, though. So, real quick, for Jonathan Fisher, for Adrian Alderete, I'm JP Leigh, and we'll see you when the credits roll.
Woo! Woo!
He took your noise.
What up, dude?